Hello everybody, my name is Chris and welcome back to Word Salad. We're continuing the series on biblical matchmaking, the Bible's wisdom of the principles of matchmaking, what the Bible does and does not say about finding a spouse. And we are continuing with the story of Abraham sending his servant to find Rebeka, who became Isaac's wife. So, let's jump right into it. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord blessed Abraham in all things. There's something that happens a little bit later that I consider kind of funny, and maybe we'll go into it. Yeah, we'll go into it. Okay. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh. Now apparently this had something to do with making an oath. You put your hand under a guy's thigh, and that means that the thing that you swear to do, that you shall do it. And I don't know why you put your hand under his thigh, but I guess it is a very humbling sort of action, a humbling sort of motion, a motion of trust from one, but also this display of dominance. You know, because I hate put your hand under my thigh. I mean, the guy who's doing that, putting the hand under the thigh, is more subservient than the guy who has his thigh on the hand. The thigh on the hand being the more dominant position, I suppose. And so anyway, I pray thee that put thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of these Canaanites, among whom I dwell. So let's stop it right there. So this is not God saying who his son can and cannot marry. It is Abraham out of his wisdom. So Abraham out of his wisdom says, and is saying unto himself and saying unto his servant, it is not my preference. And again, this is the father doing the matchmaking here. So this is the father and his father's eldest servant doing an arranged marriage here. And the father's wisdom is saying, if there's one thing, one preference I have for a wife, it is that she not be an unbeliever. That she not be an unbeliever. So there's many warnings in the Bible about not taking wives of the unbelievers, because then you will be tempted to worship their gods, and it will cause your ruin. It will cause much trouble to you. So to be espoused to someone and to be married to someone is to be connected to that person's God, the person that they worship. So if that person's faith means nothing to them, and that person's faith means nothing to you, and you get married, then you really, together, you have no God. Something that is true of our church is our pastor and his wife were married before they got saved. She got saved first, and she had to go through years of believing for her husband to get saved, and eventually it happened. So her God became his God, and this does not always happen. It was a great blessing, and it has blessed many people that occurred, that she was steadfast and believed for her husband to believe as she believed. So the importance of husband and wife having the same God, the one true God, is of the utmost and critical importance, and the first wisdom that we see. This is the first instance of a matchmaking story after the fall of man. You had Adam and Eve, then you have like all these generations, and these men have their wives, and it doesn't really say anything about the criteria for having a wife. Up until this point, Abraham saying, I don't want my son, the son of promise, that I waited so long for, to marry a Canaanite, because the Canaanites were heathens. They did not worship the God. They were not upright and righteous people. So for us as new believers, we are people who belong to the spiritual country of God. We are Zionites. We are sons of Zion, daughters of Zion, sons of God, daughters of God, and we ought to marry people who are of our own country in a spiritual sense. Not necessarily in our own country in a in a physical sense, in the genetic sense, it's irrelevant. What is relevant is that you are born again into the country of God as citizens of Zion. And the Lord's, I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, unto whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country, to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son again to the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, Beware that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house, and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give thee this land, he shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. So this is that Abraham doing that Abraham thing, that confidence thing, that faith thing that he's doing, saying, look, this is the God who promised me a son to be born of my barren wife Sarah, and not that he promised me that I would have an heir. He promised me that I would be the father of the nation. And I am confident now in my God. My God is going to send a miraculous occurrence before thee in order to make you successful in doing what I am telling you to do. So Abraham knows that this is the will of God, and Abraham knows that God will back him up. And Abraham has the confidence that his servant will be successful in this matchmaking venture. So there is action being taken here. There is also, I want to point out that when it comes to matchmaking, perhaps one of the most important wisdoms you can realize or recognize when it comes to looking for a spouse or mate is that it's not about you, right? This is about your parents. This is about your families. This is about your community. This is about your nation. It is about your faith and your religion. It is a duty and an honor to take a spouse and to raise a household. Okay, that thing was getting all wonky. It is an honor and a duty to do that. It's bigger than just your personal desires. It's bigger than just your personal opinion and personal preference. But your personal preference is a part of matchmaking. This is going to be your spouse, and actually even your personal preference and the preference of your family and the preference of what's best for not just you but also everyone you know and who you marry. That is something that you should take into account. It's something that other cultures take into account. Is not just me and what I want, but also how is this going to impact my family? How is this going to impact my parents? How is this going to impact my church or my community? How is this going to impact my service? So that is something that Abraham understands, and it's why Abraham, the father, was a part of, or really responsible for, the finding of a wife for his son. Because this was the mission of God. It was bigger than just what Isaac wants. So, and because of that, because this was about God's covenant with him, God made the servant successful. It says, He shall send His angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And what if the woman not be willing to follow me? Then thou shalt be clear. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this oath. Only bring not my son thither again. But So Abraham is communicating his confidence, saying, look, I know that you're going to go there and you're going to be successful. But even if you aren't successful, even if my God doesn't do what I believe that He will do, what I know Him to do, then if she will not come with you, if she will not follow you, then you're just released from this oath. And no curse will be upon you for not accomplishing this. look, again, similar to the previous video, we are seeing it is the woman's free will. It is the woman's free will. A woman can accept or reject at her discretion. And even God respects this, you know? So back to this whole idea of God creating people or predestining people, millions of people from birth, saying this one's going to end up with this one, and this one's going to end up with this one, and this one's going to end up with this one. That's not in the Bible. It says very clearly that you have free will. You can choose someone. You can choose the commitment based on your preference. In fact, that's the only way to make an oath. That's what a marriage covenant is. If it's something that God predetermines and predestines, then it's not something that you can do of your free will. Because then you would be doing it, you would be committing an injustice against God. All right? You are free, and it is just and right for you to either choose, accept, or reject the proposal of espousement. That is what makes a marriage real. Right? So again, this idea of being predestined to be matchmaked with someone that God makes from the foundation of reality, totally unscriptural, unbiblical, outright wrong, in my opinion. So, but not the magic of it. Okay, let me say that. It's not the something that's not. It's not against God's will for there to be a powerful match and connection, so that it feels like, oh man, this is the one it's supposed to be. This is the one. I'm not particularly against that magic, you know, but in an absolutely theological, biblical sense, the idea that God has prearranged your marriage and that's the only person you ought to marry is not biblical. It's just not. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master and sware to him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels and the camels of his master and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw the water. Okay, so he positions himself in a convenient place to find a potential spouse, right? It's like the man who lost his car keys. So he's looking for his car keys under the streetlight, and someone comes along and is trying to help him find the man's car keys. He says, we've been looking for a while now. Are you sure you dropped them in this area? He said, no, I dropped them over in the darkness over there, but there's more light right here. So look, if you're not in the place where the singles are, you're probably not going to find a single. He intentionally, by his own by his own thinking, let's see, where's a good place for me to go to potentially find a wife? Oh, why don't I go to the watering well at the time when the young women come to draw water? That's where they go. Maybe that's a good place to start looking. So the servant, by his wisdom, made a smart choice. Well, I'll go here. This might be a good spot to find one. So that's him doing a bit of his work, doing things by a bit of his wisdom, and he comes to a certain point, you know, using his own mind and his own carnality. He says, well, I will go to where the women are when they draw water from the well. And then he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I shall here by the well of water, and the daughters. I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel whom I shall say, let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink, and she say, drink, and I will give thy camels also, give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac, and thereby shall I know that thou hast shown kindness unto my master. Wow. So there you've got some help, some godly help, and you have a request from the servant. saying, well, I mean, I don't know who to pick. It could be, any one of these young women that come out there, but how am I supposed to know which one? I mean, I'm not the boy himself. I'm not my master. I'm not, I'm not God. I'm just a servant. So I'm going to put this in God's hands. So in other instances in the Bible, Old Testament and even New Testament, there's something referred to as sacred lots, and this is not considered to be witchcraft. It's not considered to be something that's um, sorcery. But when you cast lots, or you like draw straws, that's in a sense, or in a way, that's kind of what he's doing here. He's saying, well, there's a lot of options on the table. I'm not sure which to go with. Let's put it in God's hands. Let there be one of these women that actually says, yeah, I'll give you a drink, but I'll also water your camels too. And then that's the sign, or that's the signal. Oh, that's the one that I'm going to go after. So, dang, I hate to say this, but according to the Bible here, it's saying that when you don't know who to pick, sometimes asking God for a sign is not a bad thing. And I'm hesitant to say that because I get kind of I get kind of tired of hearing people say, it's like, oh, that's the one for me, and then it turns out that's not the one for them. It's like, oh, God gave me a sign, and it turns out that there wasn't a sign. I'm so hesitant about prophetic signs from God. But there it is right in front of me, so what you gonna do? All right, fine. And it came to pass before he had been done speaking, that behold, Rebeka came out, who was born of Bethuel, son of Milcah, wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well, and filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hastened to let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him a drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. So he's got a lot of camels. And I heard someone point out that, he's got a lot of camels here, and camels can drink a lot of water. And there's 10 of them, or how many are there? How many camels? Does it matter? The servant took 10 camels. 10 camels! Camels can drink a lot of water. So look, this is not just some random sign. This is him asking for an indication here that this young woman is a person of kindness and generosity and shows virtue. So I mean, he wasn't just this. Actually, on second thought, it's not like he wasn't asking for some random sign. He was asking, show me if one of these women is a woman of virtue. Show me if they're a woman of generosity, willing to go above and beyond, willing to take time out of their day to perform a kind deed. So it is really that virtue of hers that she has that ultimately was the sign to him that, oh, this is a good potential wife for my master's son. Until they have done drinking. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. How about that? And she hastened to empty her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace, to wit, whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And so this thing, Abraham said, Abraham, a man blessed by God, has this servant swear an oath. So this servant is under pressure. The servant loves his master. The servant does not want to fail his master. He's made a long journey, and the Lord is with him because he's going under the blessing of Abraham, and Abraham is under the blessing of God because of the covenant, and and so this man makes a request, and the request is instantaneously answered and fulfilled, and he is kind of in shock and awe. How about that? Wow, this woman is stopping everything she's doing. She was just taking one jug of water home, but she stopped, gave me something to drink, and she filled this trough up for my camels, and now she's running back to the well to fill it up again. So it's causing him to go, wow, I mean, did this just really happen? Did that really just happen? Is there really success here? And it came to pass when the camels had done drinking that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. She said moreover unto him, We have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I, being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And the damsel ran and told them of and there's more to this story, and blah, 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 blah. And maybe we'll get into it more in the next episode. Right now we're over 20 minutes into this. But let's recap a little bit on what we've learned. That finding a spouse is not just a matter of you, and that maybe it's not such a bad thing. That other people who know and love you should be a part of helping you in this matchmaking process. I mean, in America, we're all very individualized, and we're used to the idea of I marry someone for me. You know, that's not necessarily wrong, but but who you marry impacts your family. Who you marry impacts your community and your church. And being married is a duty to your country, really. I mean, it is a service being provided that you are serving your children, you are serving your nation by helping to continue the nation to continue, and the species to continue. Getting married and having a spouse and having children is more than being just about you. That's one thing that we've learned. And the wisdom that we are given, or the wisdom that we use ultimately, is not necessarily specifically who we marry, but that person should be of God, should be full of virtue and kindness, should be full of the goodness and the light of God. They should have the same God as you, the one true God. And when it comes to finding and seeking a spouse, it makes sense to go where the single people are. It makes sense to go where there's some options. And then ask God. You know, I mean, some people think that dating websites are a terrible idea, or that it's shameful to get on a dating website, or to go to a singles meet or a singles group, or go to a bigger church where there's more people, to actively look, that they think they just got to sit around and wait until God sends somebody. And I'm not saying that couldn't be possible or isn't possible, but it's not wrong to go and to a place where your options are expanded. I mean, the servant did that. He went to the place where he knew that there would be options, and then he prayed to God and asked for some kind of help to show him, well, show me some woman here who's full of virtue who will do this kind act for me. And bam, there it was. And it was successful because of Abraham's devotion, because God had not forsaken the covenant with Abraham. So because Abraham was not all about himself, but was about God, he was blessed. You know, perhaps the biggest mistake you can make is being self-absorbed and self-centered in regards to marriage and thinking how it's about, all about you and what you want, when really that's not the case. That's not the truth at all. You have to take the other person into consideration, take their families into consideration, and take your nation and your community into consideration. So thank you everybody so much for watching. That's it for this episode. We're going to continue. I'll figure out what we're going to do next later, and we'll keep it a surprise. But until the next video, if you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe and share. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it on Facebook or social media. Until the next video, I will see you. Bye-bye. That was a little sticky on the disc now. Bye-bye.